ask, with rising yields, we've also seen the pressure on Asian equities. Where are you finding some comfort?
Yeah, no, it's difficult to find comfort. I mean, we've had two forces of gravity working on Asian equities: the rising interest rates that you are mentioning earlier on, of course, the lockdowns and the weaker growth in China as well. But with regards to the Fed rate decision that comes through in the inflation numbers, if you look at the sector performance throughout this year in Asia, the key driver really has been interest rates, the relative sector performance. I mean, certain sectors are really sensitive to interest rate movements. They've underperformed. The ones that are not so sensitive to interest rate movements, they've outperformed. So it's really important, and I suspect that somewhere throughout this year we're going to get to a situation whereby inflation is peaking, and that that relative sector performance is going to change. So throughout this year, probably the most important move that Asian equity investors have to make is to think about duration, think about how to position yourself if inflation is going to peak and if bond yields are going to peak as well. When that's going to happen, we'll have to see. I don't know.
What is your base case scenario, though, at this point? How high are we talking about yields going, treasury yields, and how much pressure are we talking about for Asian equities?
Well, I think inflation and yields have gone up a little bit higher than what we initially anticipated. So I'll be very eager to see actually not only the talk that comes out of the Fed overnight, but also what the inflation print is going to be this month, in particular the month-to-month inflation. I know the year-on-year it will be high, but do we see continued momentum coming through? I would say that at the beginning of the year, so I'm really talking about before the whole situation in Ukraine started to develop, that we thought that probably by about now inflation numbers would peak. But of course we've had all sorts of geopolitical issues and increases in energy prices, and we're going to see what the impact is of that. So it might take a little bit longer, but we have to see this literally from month to month. But we have to also be careful not to get caught out by being in those sectors that allow us to be well positioned for rate increases and higher inflation. If it then doesn't take place, we might see quite a rapid shift in sector performance across Asia. So we've got to keep a very close eye on this.
Herald, when you take a look at the structural shifts taking place across Asia, which are the sectors and types of companies that could benefit from that transformation?
Yeah, no, I think there's actually quite a lot of interesting stories coming through in Asia. Now, if you look at the economic side, it obviously doesn't look really good. We have the lockdowns. You guys were just talking about this, how this now spreading right into Beijing. That is not good. Supply chains are being choked up, so that's not good. We see economies cutting down forecasts. And this is just for this year. We also have to think about what the medium-term outlook is, in particular in China when it comes to growth. They want to move towards a new growth model, and then it itself comes with all sorts of risks as well. So that is a challenge, to say the least. But if you then look at it from equity markets bottom up, because stock markets are just not economies, if you look at it from a bottom up and you see what happens in all sorts of sectors, we see consolidation taking place, we see premiumization, consumers willing to buy higher priced products. So there's quite a few companies, Chinese beer and liquor companies, Indonesian herbal companies, shipping, bulk shipping, airliners. But all kinds of industry dynamics are taking place that are actually quite favorable for the companies that are listed. So I think you have to really dig a little bit deeper in the market and find those stories. There are actually quite a few of them.